The word guru has become part of mainstream culture. We have fashion gurus telling us what to wear this summer. There are football gurus who provide interesting match analysis and speculative predictions. We even have phone companies who call their technical support teams guru. But in truth, the guru is simply one who removes ignorance. In order to advance in anything in life, we need knowledge. Whether it is academic education, music and arts, or whether we are learning about our genuine well-being, we need somebody who has a wealth of experience to show us the way forward. In all situations, the teacher is given an elevated status and the student humbly looks to gather the wisdom being offered. Unfortunately, when it comes to spirituality, there has developed a strong sentiment of guruphobia. Spiritual masters who have become eminent personalities are treated with suspicion and contempt. They are often portrayed as nothing more than charismatic leaders who have been mistakenly worshipped as self-styled godmen by a gullible following. Their movements are seen as sinister cults bent on brainwashing the masses, preying on innocent individuals for their money. Controversy and scandals frequently emerge in the media, warning the world against the dangers of following such power-hungry individuals. There is no doubt that there are those who set themselves up as divine gurus in order to satisfy their insatiable need to be glorified while they exploit others. There may also be those who are well-intentioned but have eventually succumbed to their own fallibility and weakness. But to write off the whole concept of the guru in light of these situations is a tragic mistake. Hinduism's very foundations rest on the self-realized spiritual master. Right from the Upanishads to the most recent Puranas, we can see that for those who want to know the truth, the various scriptures urge and in most cases command one to seek the guidance of a guru, one who has realized the ultimate truth. Krishna says in the Gita, "Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master, inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth." Every branch of Hinduism, whether it is Vaishnavism or Shaivism or any of the yoga traditions, all of them stress the need to dedicate oneself to a spiritual master. The saints and gurus are the very backbone of Sanathana Dharma. Ideas such as the divinity of the self, the notion of God realization, unity consciousness, different stages of divine love, all of these would remain as mere ideas were it not for the guru. It is the master that gives reality to the statements of scripture. He is the embodiment of what we are seeking. He is the evidence of truth itself, and he is the one who can awaken it in others. If we hold the belief that the Atma, the self, is divine, and that full realization of this truth is a possibility, it is inevitable that somewhere in the world of 7 billion people, there should be some individuals who have actually realized this fullness of truth for themselves. These are the true spiritual masters of the world. Western religion has limited space for the idea of a guru. There is no clear doctrine of self-realization. And so naturally, the concept of actively seeking a master for spiritual advancement is near non-existent. Divine personalities such as Christ and various mystic saints could be interpreted as being gurus, but Orthodox Abrahamic religion would not recognize them in such a way. Whenever divine status has been attributed to them, it has been done after their death. A living saint poses a threat which could lure people away from the religious institution. The memory and picture of a saint is a lot easier to handle for an organised religion than the living saint himself. Many Hindus would also maintain that we do not necessarily need a living guru. Masters who have left the body can be accessed through prayer and meditation. Hindus would generally agree that spiritual progress can be made by following their teachings and techniques. If we understand that the guru is not human and is one with the universal consciousness, then it naturally follows that death would not be a barrier to the guru delivering guidance. His presence is beyond time and space. But while the master's blessings may be available, to tangibly connect with a guru who is no longer in the body requires an elevated state of consciousness. How can one know the difference between the myriad of thoughts in our mind and the voice of the master? Going further, people will often ask whether a guru is really needed at all. Can't we all just go it alone? We have tradition and practices. Can we not just walk our own path? The short answer is, of course you can. Everybody is free to pursue their own idea without the fear of some divine personality condemning them for it. But one has to seriously ask what one's goal is. If our aim is to just calm the mind and be more at ease, if all we are seeking is a more enriching life, then truly speaking, we do not need a guru. There are enough books, sermons and techniques which can satisfy our needs. We can walk the path on our terms at our own pace to achieve the desired result. But there are some seekers who can never be satisfied with such a path. When one has experienced the world and is clear that none of it can satisfy their heart, when one has a profound desire to realize themselves beyond what their mind has told them, when there is a deep longing to know what lies beyond, then simple techniques and understanding is not enough. These are the symptoms of an advanced seeker. This is where spirituality is not used as just one thing among many, it is the thing that eclipses everything else. This is the state in which one should approach a living master. The road to discovering the ultimate answers of life and existence is fraught with challenges. We have to transcend our desires, we may have to face our fears, and above all, we have to master the ego. To attempt such things by ourselves is almost impossible. How do we know when we are truly advancing or being seduced by our pride and indulging in fantasy? If our goal is ultimate truth, then we need to take the guidance of one who has achieved the same goal. Only such a person can navigate us through to the final destination. But the next obvious question is, how can we know who is a real master? With so many so-called spiritual personalities, who is really trustworthy? There are different ways of answering this question. Tradition has a system in place known as parampara or disciplic succession. The guru formally initiates his disciple, who in turn dedicates his life to his master. The disciple is taught and trained. Eventually, the wisdom and indeed the actual realization of the guru is poured into the disciple. At the appropriate time, that same disciple assumes the role of the guru and passes his realization to the next qualified disciple. In this way, various spiritual lineages or sampradayas have been formed. A guru initiated into a sampradaya is seen by tradition to be authorized since he has received the grace that has been passed down from previous masters. He is also seen to be an authority in interpreting scripture and carrying out spiritual practice. For many, conforming to this model meets the criteria for a legitimate guru. A guru that accurately adheres to the principles of tradition provides a steady context for the spiritual seeker to confidently give himself to the path. Some would argue, however, that simply being initiated into a spiritual lineage cannot be a guarantee of someone's realization. This leads us to a crucial point. The reality is, the inner state of someone cannot really be recognized from judging their outside situation. To have the full realization of God means you are totally free. The guru is a karma yogi, one who acts in the world but is free from the consequences of those actions. He lives entirely for the welfare of humanity, for the welfare of his disciples. He is not bound by the mind and body. He is beyond dualities of good and bad, joy and sorrow. He has no desire, and more importantly, he has no ego. How can the limited mind really know that state? How can one bound by his own ego and the world determine whether another person is really realized or not? Krishna states in the Gita, "I am never manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. For them I am covered by my illusory power, and so the deluded do not know me as the unborn and infallible." A true master is the same. We may judge him to be compassionate or instead take him to be selfish. We may look at him as humble or extremely prideful. We may assess him as being full of philosophical knowledge or think all his ideas are useless. To us, he may seem very pious and holy, conforming to all the scriptural injunctions, or he may appear to act in an unorthodox, heretical way. Whatever it is, the true realization of the master cannot be gauged by external analysis. Our judgments are simply that, judgments. They cannot pin down the reality of a true master. One cannot bring a checklist of ideas and demand that the guru neatly satisfy each one. Divinity does not become shackled by our expectations or the etiquette of society. So is there a way of determining a true guru at all? The answer lies with the intensity of our seeking for truth. Yet bhavam tat bhavati, as is the feeling, so is the result. If in our hearts we are searching for principles and knowledge that will give us some purpose, then we'll be attracted to a guru who is intellectual and presents innovative ideas. If we are searching for emotional support, then we'll be drawn to a guru who is sympathetic and charismatic. If, however, we have in our hearts the yearning to know the truth above everything else, then we will be compelled to follow a guru who can address this profound desire. The kind of guru we follow will be representative of what we are seeking from life. In other words, the true legitimacy of a master can only be determined by what we directly experience inside. What changes are happening within? Are we becoming more free from our limited nature? Are we entering new dimensions of life? These are the questions that determine if we have found the right personality. If we find that we are not moving on our path, then either the guru is not authentic, or the guru is just not meant for us, or indeed, we ourselves have not been sincere in our discipleship. Either way, something needs to change. Having said that, that does not mean all disciples of the same guru are all seeking the same thing. Krishna says again, "All of them, as they surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly." A true enlightened master may have many followers of varying degrees of spiritual advancement. The master is able to display whatever aspect of himself is necessary for the disciple's evolution. For some, he may be like a friend. For others, he will be a philosophical teacher. And for those who are ready, he will be the embodiment of divinity itself. The guru will do whatever it takes for the disciple's upliftment. When teaching, the master can often use the knowledge of scripture, but he is not limited by it. Written scripture is for the masses and gives general conclusions. The self-realized guru, however, is what we might term the living scripture. He is able to see the potential of the disciple and, as a result, is aware of what the disciple has to achieve in this life. Therefore, the instruction and behavior of the guru will often vary from person to person. Just as a doctor prescribes different medication for different conditions, so too does the master. The true guru teaches not just through words, but through experience and inner revelation. But ultimately, if a disciple does not have his sights set on spiritual advancement, then there is a limit to what they can receive from any master. The worship and veneration of the guru is often criticized. People often ask, how can you glorify another limited human being? But within Hinduism, showing respect and gratitude is a core principle. The blessings of parents and elders are often sought. Even the namaste we use to greet each other honours the divine principle in everyone. So obviously, when one has encountered a personality who embodies everything they have been searching for, when that person has caused the most profound and dramatic changes in our life, then automatically this becomes worthy of our honour. But added to this, we should understand that whatever we give attention to becomes amplified in our life. By worshipping and venerating the master, that same divinity and state of the master becomes magnified. We participate with it, and eventually that state becomes imbibed in us. This is why the guru is glorified and given such an elevated position. To meet and connect with a living, divine spiritual master is perhaps the rarest of chances. To be able to nurture that and allow that relationship to take you beyond is even rarer. The presence of the guru is to have a living manifestation of divinity in our life. It marks the greatest chance one can have in attaining their true relationship with God. This is why to have the guru is to be at the gates of heaven itself. Many thanks for listening.